Hi everyone, just got your results. If you're happy, excellent. Go away, celebrate, have a wonderful time. But sorry folks, don't take it personally, the rest of this video isn't actually for you. Now, if you're a bit disappointed, the first thing I'm going to say is disappointing results tend to happen to pretty well everyone at some point in their life, so you really aren't alone. So the first thing is just get yourself a little bit calmer, have a cry if you need to have a cry, get yourself a nice bar of chocolate, cup of tea, something stronger if you want. So do that first, then try and think about things afterwards. So I'm going to go through a few of the possibilities, things you can do if things haven't quite gone your way. First of all, suppose the worst has come to the worst and you failed your module. Now, again, this can happen to anybody. It's absolutely not the end of the road, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that aspect later. But I want to start out with a few practicalities. Now, generally speaking, you'll be offered a resit. Now that means that you'll be redoing your EMA. It's usually going to be a new title, though sometimes it's the same, or you'll have to do a resit exam according to what happened in your original module. And that usually happens around September time. The EMA would need to be in then, the exam would be sat then. Now, if that happens, you will be able to get some support. They'll usually have something in your module forum. They'll have resources for resits. If you need some extra support, you can get in touch with the student support team and they can arrange for a one-to-one session with a tutor for you. So you're not alone, you will be getting some support about it. Now, there's one maybe bit of bad news, that if you're doing a resit, that usually means the grade is capped. Now that means you can't get more than a pass 4. Now, I know that probably doesn't seem fair, but that is the way it is. But if you had extenuating circumstances in your original exam, really bad things going on that stopped you being able to pass, it's worth asking about an uncapped reset. So that's one option, that you can do the reset. Now, if you don't want to do the reset, you've got a couple of other options. You've got the option of redoing the entire module again next year. Now, student finance in England does go up to 480 credits in total, so it can cover that for you. So you don't have to worry about it there. And if you do the entire module again, then your grade isn't capped. Next year you could be walking out with a distinction if you play your cards right. Another option, if your degree allows it of course, is that you could do a completely different module. You might think, what on earth did I put myself through this module for? I'm going to do something else instead. And if your degree allows options, that's something that you could possibly do as well. Now, let's think about something else that could have happened. So for example, maybe you haven't got the grade that you wanted. And again, completely get it's disappointing. I know people will say to you, at least you passed, but if it's not the grade you wanted, that's not really easy to accept, is it? The first thing I'd suggest you do is, if you go along and have a look at the effect it will actually have on your degree classification. Because a lot of the time, one grade that's a bit below what you wanted doesn't stop you getting the classification that you want. Now, you've got the OU's own classification documents, they're available through the Help Centre, or you can go to an unofficial thing online which is called Cleverette. It's not official, but it's never been known to be wrong, and you can see in there what sort of predicted classification that you will get. So that's something that's worth checking. You may well find out it's nowhere near as bad as you think. It doesn't stop you being disappointed, but it does mean that the consequences might not be quite that bad. You might also be able to think about, if it really is, it's really disappointing for you, could you possibly do a different module? So if your degree has options again, you might be able to unlink this one and do another one instead. If the absolute worst came to the worst and you think, well actually this degree isn't for me, there is always the option to switch to something like the open degree as well. So never ever think there are no options for you. There are, there really are. So I'd say, if that's how you're feeling about it, have a chat to your student support team about the different possibilities that you can go through there. Now, sometimes people come out and they think, that mark cannot be right. It absolutely cannot be right. And they start wondering about whether they can appeal their grade. Now, the OU's got quite limited criteria for you to appeal, and that's the same for other universities as well. But it's got to be about evidence that something's gone wrong. It doesn't let you appeal just because you think that mark isn't what I deserve, or I'm close to a boundary or anything like that. In fact, if you're close to a boundary, they already have checked it quite well. But if you think it looks like they haven't marked a question, For example, look at the record and you know you did question 23 and it doesn't show a mark for question 23, or it looks like they haven't counted a TMA mark, or anything like that where there's concrete evidence, then it's worth submitting an appeal. Now, just wanted to finish with one final thing here. To emphasise again, this is not the end of the world. It really, really isn't. And I'm going to quote an example of a good friend of mine. And what happened to her, she failed an undergraduate module. She had to resubmit her EMA. Obviously, like anyone, she was really devastated by that. She went on and got her degree. She went on and she did her master's, and she's now in the middle of doing her doctorate. See, it's only one blip on the way. Whatever's happened today, you can go on and succeed. Be positive, get some advice, don't worry too much.